So a narrative, and I've talked about this before, it's what we create in our mind based on the filters of other people's, in a sense, view of us. I feel narratives start when we're children, for whatever reasons. I'm not going to say that they're bad reasons. It's just the way that we learn to survive within a social environment, a family environment. So for example, the way that where you're born in your family, what your personality is like compared to your parents, to your siblings. In order for the social group to work, certain people fill certain roles. And so the narratives that are built out of that, some are positive, some are negative. And the narratives I'm talking about are sort of the negative ones, which are ways that we talk about ourselves that aren't necessarily how our true self would talk about us. So for example, if I see myself, say to myself, oh, I'm fat, that's a narrative. I'm fat. Where did that narrative come from? Was I born saying I'm fat? Or was I born believing that I'm fine and nothing? There is no impression or opinion of that until someone tells us that. So it's when someone tells us that then, and with a negative kind of connotation to it or a negative energy on it, that we then start to look at ourselves differently. We start to see ourselves in that mirror. And it's not just family. I mean, it's society. I mean, look at every billboard or every magazine you open or every Instagram feed that's from an influencer. They're typically people who are quote unquote a certain way. So that narrative and the work with narratives is a process of understanding first who I am. And that's where we go deep into the core truths work and understanding who I am. And then from there is to say, well, if this is who I am, does this narrative fit? Is that me? That narrative, and it doesn't belong to me, then I have a choice. I can drop it, right? And the work with narratives is really strong work. It's really hard work because we've spent a lifetime believing something that we were told. Getting to a point where we can recognize it first, so recognize it, and then make that choice of what to do with it. And then whether or not we keep it or drop it, depending on how it supports our true self. It's beautiful work when people kind of have that moment when they realize, oh, I'm looking at myself or I'm talking about myself the way my mother did, the way my father did, the way that my peers did, but that's not me. And the me is the true self. The narrative it's being filtered through the ego, and the ego is looking at it and owning it when it's actually, and that's the process, is understanding how to, again, let go of it and grow.